The Mercedes AMG GT was tasked with rising Merc's gain to fight Porsche's 911 when it was revealed back in 2014. For the first time in decades, the two-seater GT was a direct and brilliant attempt to claim some ground against a sports car that Porsche had led and claimed for the past 60 years. Yet, not just satisfied to go after Porsches, AMG also had its eyes fixed on the GT3, of which spawned the GTR, a more powerful, focused and expensive track day car. Like all GTs, the heart of the GTR is an AMG's M178 twin-turbo 4-litre V8. This engine might feel familiar thanks to its use of across a whole generation of AMG models from the C-Class to the G-Classes. But for the GT, it was specifically designed for AMG's supercar and motorsports program. There are a whole range of small detail changes, but the most obvious difference was its dry slump layout, a feature that allowed AMG to mount it much lower in the chassis than other AMG models. Given its placement at the upper end of the AMG range, the R increased its peak power compared to the standard GT and GTS to 557 brake horsepower, together with 516 pound-feet of torque from just 1,900 RPM right through to 5,500 RPM. To achieve this, the turbo internals have been modified. Engine mapping revised and boost pressure increased from 1.2 bar to 1.35. AMG's engineers have also altered compression ratio, defined the exhaust port design, changed the way the boost pressure is built, and fitted a new dual mass flywheel that's 0.7 kg lighter than the fitted to the GTS, all with the aim of sharpening throttle response. However, the transmission is familiar, with the 7-speed dual clutch paddle shift gearbox is fitted to the rest of the GT range, albeit with a taller first gear, shorter sixth gear, and a lowered final drive ratio for increased in-gear urgency. Top speed being 199 miles an hour and its 0 to 62 taking just 3.6 seconds. Yet beyond the powertrain, the GTR was really about designed engineering, with painstaking attention paid to the chassis, aerodynamics, weight distribution, and structural design. Hidden beneath the skin are more components made from exotic, lightweight materials. Carbon fiber is used for the prop shaft and torque tube, with magnesium used for the part of the front structure. The most obvious changes compared to the narrow-body GTs are those made to the bodywork. Using a mixture of aluminium and carbon fiber, the front and rear wings have been stretched by 46mm and 57mm, respectively, to cover the GTR's wider track. The nose was the first AMG to gain the now trademark grille, while the rear end wears an adjustable full-width wing. In addition, Active Aerodynamics control a section of the underbody beneath the engine bay that automatically lowers 40mm to create an effect that reduces front axle lift by some 40 kg at 155 miles an hour, as well as feeding the large double diffuser at the rear. In total, the R's aero package generates 155 kg more downforce at maximum speed rather than the regular AMG GT. The suspension features adaptive coilover dampeners, which can be run in comfort, sport, and sport plus settings. Uniball round bearings are used to locate the lower rear wishbones for more precious control. There's also a thick rear anti-roll bar. It's also pursued Porsche's use of the rear wheel steering system in some of its track focus models, a feature that's now common right across the market. Up to a speed of 60 miles an hour, the rear wheels are turned in the opposite direction to the front wheels, increasing agility by effectively shortening the car's wheelbase. Above 60 miles an hour, the rear wheels turn in the same direction as the front wheels to increase stability. Also new to the R was the 9-way traction control system, which is controlled via a yellow rotary switch on the dashboard. It looks out of place until you appreciate it's very similar to that found in the GT3 race car. This system is accessed once you disable the regular 3-stage ESP. This car being an AMG model, you can work your way through the usual suite of driving modes to tailor engine response, damping, and transmission characteristics via comfort, sport, race, race plus, and individual modes. And of course, there's a switchable exhaust mode to bring the thunder on demand via the R's striking triple exit system, which features a large tailpipe with a pair of smaller outlets. Other highlights include the lightweight forged aluminium wheels and ceramic braking system, featuring 402mm tyres at the front and 360mm rear discs. The braking system offers longer service life, greater resistance to fade, and a significant 15 kg saving in unspring weight. As AMG's taken on the 911 GT3, you'd expect the R to look the part, but critically, it feels it too. The manually adjustable seat grips allow you to tighten and place you low in the car, but you still get a great view down the sharply sculptured bonnet. Like with all AMGs, the engine starts with a boom, pulses at idle, and roars with every touch of throttle. It's loud and an exotic machine. On track, it's a car that's to be enjoyed rather than feared. With race mode selected, the ESP system active in its most relaxed setting, you can work the GTR's throttle hard with confidence. It's bullet fast, out of the corners and down the straights, aided by a DCT transmission that delivers clean upshifts and a snappy downshift, complete with a collection of bangs and crackles through the exhaust. However, it's the grip, traction and balance that truly is impressive. The steering weight is moderate, perhaps even a little lighter than expected, but you have a genuine sense of a connection with the R's front end. It finds terrific bite, but never feels overly responsive, so you can really lean on it. And because there's absolute unity between the front and rear ends of the car, something the GTS struggles to deliver, you can do so without the fear of the tail struggling to cope with the rate of response. It resists understeer brilliantly in the tighter corners, just pushing as you chase the throttle, but then often as you power through the apex to exit. The EPS just nibbles away if you really push things, but it's not too unwanted. It's equally adapted through medium and high speed corners, with exceptional grip matched by steady fast stability in directional changes and awkward braking areas where you also need to steer the car. Even doing lapping sessions with the ESP and traction control fully disabled reveals the beast under the bonnet. Until this point, AMG products always tend to struggle to deploy all their performance on track. Traction is limited, stability compressed, and tyres work to a frazzle in a heart full of laps. The GTR is very different. It finds so much grip on the way into the corners and so much drive on the way out, you really enjoy working it beyond its limits, as you would with the 911 GT3. When it eventually slides, it breaks away progressively and can be held at modest angles that are hugely satisfying while maintaining your corner speed, where AMGs always have a tendency to feel like blunt instruments on a track. The GTR is an accuracy tool. Out on the road, the GTR feels hardcore. That's as you'd hope, but it's a very firm car, even in comfort mode. On the plus side, that means it's sharp as a flip knife, cutting a clean line through the corners and revealing its rapid directional changes. Yet thanks to the rear steer, it allows you to feel more in control. There's a greater feel and connection too, so tapping into its agility doesn't feel like a leap of faith. It's fun and fast, but doesn't rely on pure speed to deliver a memorable driving experience. The car copes well with compression, but has a tendency to skip across sharp bumps and crevices, especially when you're accelerating hard. Hit the wrong combination of the road and it feels a bit like a skimming stone. Not crashing from bump to bump, but just struggling for the rear wheel travel. You feel it and you hear it in the slight rise and fall in the engine note as the rear tyres fight for traction. On the smoothest sections of tarmac, the sport setting is good and delivers really tight body control, but on the whole comfort, it's plenty stiff enough. On tighter, more mangling roads, it can be a bit much due to not only the stiff setup, but also the GTR's physical size. It's just too wide to really shine on those sort of roads, comparing to the GT3. By the closing of production in 2022, the GTR's price was listed at £158,000, getting closer to £180,000. When you add worthwhile options such as the compact brakes, forged wheels, and Larry paint, similar money will also buy anything from an Audi R8 V10 Performance Quattro all the way across the McLaren ranges of the 5.7 and the 600 models. The 600 LT being a more practical choice. Yet AMG's flagship is even that bit as desirable as any of them, punches as hard and delivers odd thrills in its own distinctive way. It's proved that AMG has found its groove, a sports car that doesn't dominate by its engine. Brilliant though it is, but rather the way it syncs with the chassis and systems. Its most obvious reveal at launch was the Porsche 911 GT3, a car that was continuously refined over generations to be a consistent benchmark that was always just out of reach from the AMG. The later 992 took things even more seriously and added a new level of performance and capability that did start to show the AMG up. If you do want to see the newest 911 GT3 RS, you can do by clicking this video in front of you now.